And explain to us, you have kind of been able to link that plume or that area with the Muddy River.
The Muddy and the Stony Brook. And basically, the common wisdom is that the water quality is bad after rainfalls. And that's because that's when you get this combined sewer discharges and the stormwater runoff. And there's truth to that, but that's not the whole story. So what puzzled us a little bit about this data was that we really couldn't explain it by the rainfall. So because when we found the high concentrations, it was actually the rainfall was lower. So it was counterintuitive. And when we looked more at the problem, we found out that it is related to the way the dam is operated.
And that's the dam that is right underneath the Zaken Bridge. So
That's right.
It's quite a distance away.
Yes. Yeah. And because what happens is that the dam right now, the way it's operated, it is opened when the harbor is at low tide, because that's when the river can be drained by gravity.
So it doesn't need the pumps.
It doesn't need to be pumped, right? So basically we release on a tidal cycle. And what happens is when the dam is open, the river acts more like a river when it has downstream velocities, and when the dam is closed, the river acts more like a lake.
Yeah.
And that will affect where the outflow from the Muddy River and the Stony Brook goes. And that's what we found was responsible for the difference between the two surveys that we found.
So if we can maybe link the emptying at the dam, link that with when the river is most likely to be used for swimming and recreational uses, or maybe use electricity at night, so that the river is emptied at night but not during the moments when the swimming occurs, I think that would be a big step forward.
That's sort of an idea. Of course, there's a lot of considerations. Pumping costs money. You also have to have an operator there, and the water level has to be considered. Right now, the Charles River is being regulated because if the water level is too high, then boats can't go under bridges, and if it's too low, they may run aground. Yeah. So there's lots of considerations. But yes, I would agree. That's a possibility.
And so this is a challenging engineering issue, environmental monitoring. And you have some intriguing images. Can you tell us here what's happening?
Well, this is basically the results that we just saw, the E. coli, and overlaid on it now is the results from a model that we developed. It's a mathematical model, sort of like a global climate model, where we cut the river up into boxes, and then based on the physics, the model calculates the mixing between each of these boxes. So you see the two surveys. In the top one, the dam was closed and the plume really didn't go anywhere.
So the plume right now is pretty much where the Muddy River and the water from the Stony Brook come in near the Boker Overpass.
Yep.
And if the dam is not open, it kind of stays there.
That's right, because there's no appreciable downstream velocities. And then on the bottom figure, what you see is that's when we found the high concentration. And it turned out the gates were actually open at that time. And so you can clearly see how the model predicts the plume being washed downstream onto the esplanade. And it matches up quite nicely with our observations.
What's not visible here is that the plume also goes into the lagoon where, we're close to people and where the windsurfers are further down near the community boating, so that the plume of bad water really happens where people are using the river the most.
That's right, depending on whether the dam is open or not.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So I think you are working on two interesting elements here environmentally. One is to look at the impact of the dam, and the other one is to look hour by hour that links the rainfall and the dam opening with the water quality.
Yes, that's correct. We're trying to sort of take a or a complete approach to the problem. Try to consider all the angles, the economics of operating the dam, the boating, as well as the swimming, and see if we can come up with a strategy that's best for everyone.
Yeah. So it's wonderful that probably your students experiencing both the technology of doing these very sophisticated models. I know this particular model also it exists in a film form where you kind of see as the dam opens this plume wandering down the river. So that it becomes very vivid and must be very intriguing for your students to develop these models.
It's well, I sure hope so. I mean, it's a challenge, you know. I mean, there's a lot of mathematics involved. These models take a long time to develop. You know, it took me a number of years to come up with this model that needs to be calibrated, validated. We need to collect data to make sure it works properly. And so there's a lot of student hours in there in terms of effort.
Yeah, and the Charles River Conservancy is very grateful to the Boston Foundation and the Mass Environmental Trust for funding the Conservancy for the work that we are doing on the swimmable Charles. The Conservancy has a staff person, Karen Patterson-Green, the swimmable Charles coordinator, who works closely with you and your students so that we can bring that data to help us as we do our swimming advocacy. There's now a commission that the governor is in the process of appointing, a Swimmable Charles Commission that looks at where swimming can take place. So this data will be very crucial for that commission. It is chaired by Senator Petruccelli, and it also has Senator Sonia Diaz on it, Jane Diaz, and it has Representative Walls on it. So it will have great local representatives and people very interested in the Charles River. So we're very grateful for that. And then if people want to find out more about your program, you are at Northeastern, and probably there are websites that people can go to.
Absolutely.
And I know you, your students probably also can provide information.
Sure, yeah, we have a website, and you can contact me directly. My email and phone number is on the website. And you know, if you're interested in becoming a student researcher, that's great. Or if you just want to talk about the Charles River, that's also great.
And so if you want to learn more about the Charles River Conservancy, our website is thecharles.org. On this particular website is information about our Swimmable Charles effort, and also about our volunteering, our other efforts to make the parklands more active. But swimming is very high on our priority, and we are very grateful for your work. And thank you very much for coming today, Ferdi, and sharing your research with us.
Yes, thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.
And so we hope to see you on the parklands and one day soon swimming in the Charles. Thank you very much for watching the Charles River Conservancy Parkland Show.